Hello there, and welcome back to the Notes of Hirokiro Araki. My name is Hunter Asplin, and welcome to Part 3, Stardust Crusaders. Volume 13. In this book, a new ability called Stands is introduced. Stands is psychic powers given a visible form and shape. Traditionally, these kinds of powers were shown with light and electrical effects, or after effects like crumbling buildings. I asked myself, how could I express this invisible power? That's when I came up with Stands. Now let's begin a new adventure with Jotaro and his friends. Volume 14. When I'm traveling, I can feel very lonely, so I appreciate the kindness of strangers from the bottom of my heart. Still, sometimes I wonder why someone's being so nice to me. Are they actually evil and planning my demise? Who's my friend? Who's my enemy? A big smiling face says, "Please give me all your money." Ah! Now that's scary. Volume 15. When you start working in the real world, you're often asked to trade business cards. But ever since I became a mangaka, I've had to say, "Oh, I don't have a business card. Sorry." Well, I've finally designed a business card with the mark you see above on it. Now, even if I'm overseas, people can figure out what progression I work in. The international sign of a manga artist, the big callus on the finger. I'm just going to make this like the image shown in the video, I guess. People often say that prostitution is the world's oldest profession. Well, that's what I learned in history class, at least. For those who don't know what prostitution is, ask your dad. But is it really the oldest profession? I found an even older one. I can't prove it, but it goes all the way back. The profession is the storyteller who tells scary stories. To be continued in Volume 17. Volume 17. Continued from last volume. A long, long time ago, people sat under the starry night sky and gathered around a fire. They listened to an old man tell frightening tales. They listened intently and let their imagination take them into the world he described. Okay, that's enough for tonight. We want to hear more. I'll give you this fruit if you tell us more. I'll tell you tomorrow. Now, go to bed. That's the kind of story I hope to tell and keep on telling. Volume 18. My friends often tell me, "You're really rude when I call you when you're working." I stopped and thought about it when my mother called me and said, "You're so rude. You're not a son of mine." But think about it, people. I don't see what's so hard to understand. When I'm working, I can't blab about stupid stuff on the phone for hours, like I do when I'm just hanging out, or I'll be late submitting my work. I'm a Gemini, so I have a split personality. I wish people could just think of work and play as my on and off switch. This was in 1990. I didn't realize star signs were as prevalent back then as they are now. Volume 19. No one realizes this, but as of December, I will have been a manga artist for 10 years. I'm not saying this because I want someone to congratulate me. 10 years. It's only 2 words. But it's an amount of time that makes me go, When I consider that I spent my entire 20s working in manga, again I go, But I'm grateful to God and my ancestors for this feeling. Volume 20. In the early 1980s, I lived in Sendai. Back then, I used to send photocopies of my constructed manuscripts to my publisher by postal mail. One photocopy cost me 40 yen, 40 cents per page. After the publisher received it, I'd have to talk to them over the phone and discuss it. After a while, this became a pain, so I moved to Tokyo by myself. Now, faxes and color copiers are much better than they were back then. If they had been available back in the day, I doubt I would have moved to Tokyo. Lately, I'm really seeing how times have changed. Volume 21. It's nothing to brag about, but I'm horrible at remembering things. I can barely remember what I did for fun as a kid, or what such and such TV show was about. I'm so sorry. The other day I saw Rai Miyazawa, a Japanese actress, but I completely forgot her name. When I asked someone where her name was, they laughed at me. I should mention that I'm a huge Rai Miyazawa fan. I'm really worried about my future. Araki, this is me from the future. I think you're okay. Volume 22. I could stay depressed about my bad memory, but that's a negative way to live. Let's look on the bright side and list the advantages of having a bad memory. You can reread a book and see a movie over and over and enjoy it as much as the first time. If you make an inconvenient promise, you can pretend that you forgot about it and still be forgiven. And number 3 is the most important thing. You can keep coming up with ideas without being held back by convictions of the past. Volume 23. Lately, cigarette smoke bothers me. I always notice it when someone's smoking near me. With that in mind, I've decided that Whole Horse will quit smoking. I did not know this. What the hell? But then I thought that it would be so weird to suddenly change a character's habits. But on the other hand, Whole Horse changes his mind all the time anyway. I figured, what the heck? So now he's using a smoke-free pipe. Okay, that's really funny. I didn't realize Araki's dislike of cigarette smoke caused Whole Horse to use a different pipe. That is super, super funny. Volume 24. The most frightening thing that ever happened to me is when I experienced hail for the first time. As a child, I'd never heard of this mysterious phenomenon of hail falling from the sky. One day, I was playing in an open field when the sky suddenly turned black and a ton of ice cubes, like the one I put in my Calipus water, started falling from the sky. I remember thinking, it's like the end of the world. I'll never lie to my parents, and I'll never pick on my little sister. I know you might think, Volume 25, I know you might think this is silly, but once I had a dream that I was a sumo wrestler standing in the ring. This might sound humorous, but it was the most terrifying dream I've ever had. The match was being broadcast live nationwide on this Japanese channel. So if I ran away, I would be known as the biggest coward in Japan. I was nearly naked and wearing only a funryoshi. Yeah, I still weighed 125 pounds. I'm going to die, I thought. Volume 26. So in my dream, I'm facing this sumo wrestler on national TV and trying to avoid being known as the biggest coward in Japan. I don't know anything about sumo wrestling, I'm really sorry. I try to concoct a plan to lose the match without getting hurt. I get in the ring and the referee says, "Miyat," ordering me and the other wrestler to face on another. The other wrestler is glaring at me and his face is 4 times the size of mine. There's an open wound on his forehead, probably from yesterday's brutal match. The wound starts to twitch and blood oozes out of it. I'm pretty sure I let out a piercing scream at this point. I'm just imagining like Araki now, with how old he is, having this dream again. Volume 27. In my entire life, I've only seen a ghost once. It happened a few years ago when I traveled in England. I stayed in a hotel that used to be an old castle. It was only 8 o'clock, but I was exhausted, so I went to bed early. A few minutes after I lay down, a woman came out through the slightly open bathroom door. I saw that there was blood on her wrist. Volume 28. The female ghost floated across the room, standing beside my bed. She looked down at me with a blank expression, and I thought to myself, I'm seeing a ghost. I thought I has no psychic powers. That's how it's written. Then the next moment I thought, I'm really sleepy. I don't want to deal with this right now. As if she knew what I was thinking, the ghost expression turned to sadness and disappeared. This really happened. People say I must be dreaming, but I swear it really happened. That was the last volume, but not to cut into this, but that does happen to me a number of times. Sometimes I just wake up and I'm really tired and I just see these figures in the corner of my room. That is the end of the Stardust Crusaders offer notes. That was volume 13 to 28. I'll see you guys eventually when I do Diamond is Unbreakable. This is quite the long volume. Alright.